Okay, we'll get started now. Looks like just about everybody's here, I think, that had signed up for the webinar. So again, thank you everybody for being with us here today. Purpose of the presentation is to talk a little bit about xTuple. We, as a company, we're an ERP software company, obviously, and we've kind of noticed in the marketplace through a number of contacts, a number of businesses reaching out to us who had been using the PC MRP product and kind of giving us the feedback that maybe that product was nearing the end of its life. It seemed like there were a lot of companies out there looking for an alternative, looking for kind of the next solution, looking for a way to perhaps maybe modernize a little bit. PC MRP was a real nice product, obviously very affordable, but perhaps hasn't kept up from a technology perspective and from a functionality perspective with a lot of the interesting things that are going on in the marketplace. So we've been trying to do some outreach to that market segment in hopes of providing a nice welcome spot for those folks who are interested in looking for the next thing. So let me do a little bit of overview here. My name is Wally Tonra. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at xTuple. So I'm just going to do a little bit of overview of the company. I'll address some of the content. If you're on this webinar, you've probably been receiving some of our emails trying to speak directly to some of the things that we have heard from the PC MRP marketplace. So I'm going to talk to those just a little bit, and then we'll actually dive into the software, get a little bit of a tour of the software. But let me just say that I'm happy to, and we are happy to here at xTuple, do something more specific for you, for your business, more perhaps interactive, where you could kind of along the way ask questions. So if you'd like to arrange a demo, please feel free to give us a call here or shoot us an email. You can send an email to sales@xtuple.com. My email is wally@xtuple.com, W-A-L-L-Y. You'll see that at the very end of the presentation. So please, reach out to us if we can provide a more detailed scenario and provide you more information about xTuple. So we are an ERP software company. We're a little bit different from your traditional ERP software company. I think that we do target market a very similar marketplace to the one that PC MRP went after in its day and still supplies to some customers today, which is small to medium-sized businesses who want more inventory planning than you're going to get in a kind of accounting-oriented solution like a QuickBooks or a Peachtree or a Sage entry-level product. So customers that are looking for things like MRP and more inventory management, providing more visibility across the operations, a more sophisticated product, if you will. And we've got different versions of our offering that we make available. You can kind of think of what you're looking at here as the small, medium, and large versions of our solution. It's all one solution. It's xTuple ERP, but we have different editions that are really kind of targeted to different kinds of businesses. Our entry-level version is what we call Postbooks. It is an ERP. It's an integrated solution that includes all the inventory management kinds of things that you might like to see, or let's say maybe light in inventory management. It has a lot of ERP kinds of concepts that you'd like to see, including it's got integrated accounting, it has integrated CRM, it has order management and purchasing and shipping and receiving, those kinds of things. It actually doesn't have MRP. So our entry-level version kind of scales back a little bit and doesn't offer MRP. But it is an interesting product in that you can get it for free if you only need 4 users. The entry-level version is free. As you get above 4 users, there's license costs associated with it. And then our business really is we've built solutions on top of that to extend it, to bring in that value-added inventory planning kind of capability so that businesses can take advantage of those things. We've got one version that's really kind of tweaked to the distribution industry. We call it the distribution industry, or the distribution edition. And then we've got a manufacturing edition that has not just MRP and DRP like the distribution edition does, but it also has MPS, It has routing, so an ability to track labor, so more detailed labor planning, more detailed inventory planning across a multi-level bill of material as well. So that's what the manufacturing edition does. Our enterprise edition really includes both. So if you were kind of a business that had both aspects of a distributor and a manufacturer, you might need or want the enterprise edition. As a company, we make a whole series of add-ons available as well. So we've got these core editions and then a whole series of little add-ons that you can get to add in for certain industries or certain features that you might want. Actually, many companies have created some add-ons as well. All the ones that we create, we also include in the Enterprise Edition. So those are the different versions of the software. And everything that I'm showing is available on our website, including all of our pricing. So I'll get to that in just a minute. We also have, this is a little bit unique, we have an integrated e-commerce platform. We call it more of an e-commerce portal because it does a whole lot more than provide an ability for your customers to log on and buy stuff with a credit card. It's more of a customer service portal where existing customers that have a relationship with you can come and find out research information, maybe download spec sheets on particular products of information, see images of information, check on status of orders, reprint an invoice, things like that. So there's a whole series of kind of interactions that your customers can have with the website beyond taking orders. And if they do want to take orders, that's great. They can take an order and pay by credit card, but they can also take an order as if they were calling and putting their order on account. So they take an order and they say, put it on my AR, and it goes into the ERP, and customer gets the invoice, and the terms that are associated with that customer, the pricing that it's associated with that customer, it all flows along with that customer. So it's a really nice kind of integrated tool as you start to think about with your customers, how can I provide them some access via the web without maybe wanting to do that, you know, a real e-commerce solution, because maybe it's a situation in a lot of manufacturing environments, job-oriented manufacturing environments, that's just not realistic. Your customer just can't call and sign up for what they want on a website, but they can call or they can go to the website and find lots of interesting, helpful information perhaps. And so you can get to this from any number of platforms, obviously, which is nice. As a solution, our application is available to be hosted locally, so like you do today with your PC MRP solution. You can have it hosted on site, but we also offer a cloud service. So if you're interested in kind of getting out of the server business and you would like somebody else to manage that part of the business for you, not have to have somebody kind of looking over a server to manage that, we can take care of that as well. So whether you're doing on-premise or hosted, that doesn't affect the price of the software. You pay for the hosting service if you want to do that. And for us, thing that's a little bit unique here is that can be a decision that you make when you purchase the software, or it can be a decision that you make a year later, or perhaps when you purchase the software you decided you wanted to do cloud hosting, but then for whatever reason decided that you didn't want to. So the point here is that it's not a lifetime decision for us. You're a little bit of a tenant at will for hosting with us. So if you want us to take care of it for some period of time or what have you, you've got that choice with xTuple. So if you did follow the emails that that we sent out, one of them highlighted some very specific things that we heard in the marketplace with regard to what are some things that this solution, this more modern solution, more comprehensive, more integrated solution has to offer over the existing PC MRP solution, which I think we would probably all agree hasn't had a lot of updates or additions to it very recently. Whereas as a solution provider, we're continuing to do that literally on a daily basis. So some reasons that you might consider moving away from your existing platform, offering a little bit more in the way of inventory control. So this is something that we heard. We've got more capabilities around lot and serial management. This is real important if you're dealing with any kind of regulated business, or you have regulated customers that might have issues with your product, and if there's a recall situation, they need to be able to get some documentation from you as well. So we've got full lot tracking, tracing, and at multi-generational level traceability as well. And then better inventory management across multiple warehouses. So within a warehouse locations across multiple facilities. So if I've got one facility and I've got another facility on the other coast, managing the inventory, using the planning systems to manage the inventory. What are the optimal levels that I have at the different locations? So our planning system will help to manage that. And it is a real multi-location kind of or multi-facility kind of situation. Items have their own identities, their own inventory levels, potentially different general ledger costing perspectives at those. So that's all there, and that's all real time as well. So all that interaction that you have with inventory across multiple facilities is all happening real time, and you've got that visibility. What do I have in this warehouse? What do I have in my other warehouse? As up to date as I just got an order and that changed. Another thing kind of on the customer service side, or another series of things that we've seen on the customer service side, and we'll go into this when we take a look at the software, there's a completely integrated CRM set of capabilities. So all of the kinds of things that customers are really used to wanting today and hearing about today and seeing today, their salespeople are asking for tools to help them manage their sales process, completely integrated. So a whole series of tools to manage the interactions that you have, the emails, the notes, the comments, all of that, reporting on that, activity reporting on sales reps, follow-ups that you can have as a sales rep. I got to remember to follow up the opportunity tracking. So what are the deals that my sales reps are working on? What's the pipeline look like? What does the pipeline look like this month versus the quarter for the rest of the year? All of that is included with an integrated CRM system. And because it's integrated, you really get a whole lot more tools, right? So I'm working with a prospect, and now I'm quoting that prospect. And so I've got all the visibility to the different interactions that I've had with them. Once I start the quote, now I've got the visibility to the rest of the ERP. Do I have what they're looking for? Excuse me, do I have the ability to build what they're looking for? So we'll get into that, and we'll see that you've got now the ability, because of all this integration, the ability to keep promises, make better promises, because you're more confident in what you're promising. I don't have to pick up the phone and call down to production. I can see what's there, and over time, people get more comfortable and confident in what they're seeing there because they start to learn it is real and it's real time, again, because of that real-time inventory visibility. And so you've got the ability to see that inventory. You've got the ability to act on that inventory. I need to do something about it. I'm looking at my inventory now. I need to order something right now, right from there, right click, cut a purchase order. So very easy to look at, see both from a customer service perspective and from an inventory or an operations perspective. I want to look at what I've got here before I even start to do any MRP planning or any kind of big picture planning. I'm looking at something very specifically, and I need an answer on, can I build this? I can build it. That means we've got to order some parts for it right now. So immediately being able to act on things that you get. So that just kind of happens because there is very easy navigation throughout the application. I can be in one place. I can right-click and jump over to another place. So I don't have to back all the way out of one particular application and drill down far into another, right? Putting in information that I was just at because I had to back out and go all the way. We hear that a lot, that whole ability to have things really connected and really accessible in an intuitive way. Well, I need information about this. Well, right-click and get the information. You don't have to back out and then go do an inventory inquiry just because you're in sales order. If I'm in sales order, I ought to be able to get that inventory information that I'm looking for. Again, real time. And that's real time whether I'm seeing it on screen. I think people in this world, this PCMRP world, kind of have become real accustomed to having a report. If I want to see something, I'm going to print out a report, or I'm going to get a PDF of a report. That's a real static thing, right? It's what it was then. Whereas in xTuple, and you'll see this, the reports tend to be kind of the printed ones a little bit go away, because you can go on the screen and you can look for things. I can print it, I can email it to myself, I certainly can get a PDF of it, but I can also look at it real time and I can see what's going on for quantity on hand, what's going on with my inventory availability. If I want to know something more about it, I can right-click and I can drill down and get more information about that. I'm looking at a line in my inventory report and I've got a question about a particular item. I thought I was out of that, or I thought I had plenty of that. Oh, I see there's some on order. What's on order? Right-click, open up the purchase order, or see a list of other purchase orders that are out there over time. So you have that real-time capability to not just get reports, but see reports live and interactive online and act on them. So you've got, just more, the more better tools, let's say. And on the MRP side, kind of the core of why a lot of people went with PCMRP back in the day, and the benefits that it brings. We've extended the MRP capabilities, a lot of flexibility with running MRP. I can run it for a single item. I can run it for just a small group of items. I can run it for all items. I can run MPS and then MRP. And then once I've run it and I get the results, then I've got that same ability that I was talking about just a second ago with, well, why is MRP telling me this? Give me the context. I can right-click, I can drill down, I can find out why MRP made this kind of recommendation. So lots of interactive tools for doing more with MRP. It's not a static report that you can then go in and look item by item on the whys or wheres or what's going on with it. So lots of options for making changes, making edits, getting some perspective before I do any releasing and turn those into real orders. So that's a big one. So those are the kind of big ones that we've heard over time with regard to why our solution has some real capabilities, some real value add over some of the tools that were nice back in the day, but we've been able to extend. We've got lots of customers in lots of different industries. So whether you're kind of a more traditional metal bending manufacturer, whether you're a food processing oriented manufacturer, a high-tech electronics manufacturer, whether you're more of a distribution value add manufacturer as opposed to a real multi-level bill of material, all kinds of work centers, tracking labor kind of manufacturing environment, we've got customers like you. So lots of customers in lots of different industries, and we'd be happy to connect you with some of our customers. If you go on the website, you can see case studies of our customers. Lots of people just kind of find their way to some of these case studies and reach out to customers, on their own. We would like to, I guess, make sure it's okay with our customer and clear the reference scenario, but our customers are typically very happy to talk to people. You'll see if you spend any time on the xTuple website, we try and provide a lot of information so that you really can do as much self-education as you'd like to do or as you want to do. So we've tried to build this website that's a whole learning center that somebody that's starting down I think I might want ERP, or I might need a new ERP solution path, that we've got lots of tools and lots of ways that they can go to learn more about the application, including, hey, I want to look at the software and I want to play with it myself. I want my own copy of the software. Well, we can set you up with a free trial, or a private free trial even, so nobody else is in that same database. If you wanted to put your own items in there, some of those kinds of things, we can absolutely do that. And we can even connect it to our e-commerce solution if you'd like to kind of test drive the whole solution. We also have an e-learning center that's on there that, as somebody that's evaluating the software, you can see and you can check out and you can watch. So there's well over 100 videos, short form videos, anywhere from like 4 to 8 minute long videos that you can watch someone going through the software, different parts of the software. So maybe you want to see just something in AR, or I just want to see something about how an inventory item is set up, the inventory master, show me that. So all kinds of short form videos that you can see and that you can observe and watch and start to get a little bit more of a flavor for, well, how does the software actually work? And then, as I said before, if you're interested in then having a kind of an interactive demo where we go through it, and ask questions. You can see the whole process going all the way through. You want to ask questions, we're happy to do that. We also, by the way, have a whole network of partners. So xTuple is a company. We're headquartered here in Norfolk, Virginia, but we've got a whole series of value-added resellers all throughout the country. Some actually have experience with PCMRP and converting PCMRP, and we're happy to make those connections as well. So if you're interested in talking to somebody that's local to you, that might have some real relevant experience with you, we've got some really, really terrific partner resellers that we can make those kinds of introductions to. And so some of them have actually done some of these xTuple University videos too, so you can see some of them. But there's lots of information that's out there about the software, about the experience, about learning more about it. So all kinds of things that you can find out about the company, about the software. You can see the different products that we have for sale. I mentioned that we have a whole series of add-ons. We actually have a little marketplace. It's kind of like an app store where you can go in and you can buy things and download them and load them right into your environment. So we make that available as well, and you can see the kinds of things that are out there. And there is this free trial, so there's this unlimited free trial that's out there that anybody can kind of stumble across any time and jump right on and use. That's a multi-user kind of thing if you just wanted to play around and get a quick look and feel kind of scenario. If you are more interested in having a real experience where, hey, I want to put some of my items in here, or I want to see what it looks like with my data, or anything along those lines, we can set up a private free trial for you as well. We do that all the time. Our pricing is out there on the website, so if you go to xtuple.com/pricing, you'll actually see our pricing. Choose the edition, choose the number of users. We have different ways that we license the software as well. You can buy it on a lower cost subscription type basis, or you can buy it kind of a one-time purchase of the software. So any of those are out there and available. We actually have some special promotional oriented pricing that we've done specifically for PCMRP customers. This would have been in one of your emails that we sent out to you, but it's a real value for, it's a lower bundled cost in essence here. So the manufacturing edition, which seems to be the one that fits this environment real well, that's out there, and there's also, for just a little bit more, the enterprise edition, where you get a whole lot more capability in there too. So as I mentioned, we have some great partners out there. So we've got great people that we can introduce you to if you're interested in talking to somebody that is local to you, somebody that's got a lot of expertise in history in implementing our software. And a lot of our partners have implemented not just our software, as I said, but other applications as well, and so have really, really terrific experience. So happy to make those introductions. And any questions that arise as a result of today, anything that I go over here, anything about the software, like I said, any introductions that you're interested in making, here's my contact information. You can also send an email to sales@xtuple and you'll get right to us. So so that's a good way to get right to us. So let's take a look at the software. So like any application, right, when you're first logging in, I'm demoing the software on a Mac. I guess I really didn't talk about this, but the software runs great on Windows. Probably most of our customers run it on Windows, but it also runs terrific on Mac. Any mixing and matching of Mac and Windows runs great on Linux. Linux is a terrific server option, a lower cost server option if you'd like to do that. So any mixing and matching of those technologies, you can access a lot of the software through a browser as well, so that's an option. We're in the middle right now of rolling out some specific functional apps. The first batch of those that are coming out are around inventory, so if you wanted to have kind of on a device, an Android device or a Windows device, and iOS is in the works, but a mobile kind of device where you want it to be walking around doing specific transactions, shipping, receiving, moving, inventory inquiries, picking, those kinds of things you can do with the mobile devices on the mobile inventory apps that are coming out very soon. But I'm demoing on a Mac, and so you can see that I've got my dock down here. And when you log into the application, you get a little login screen like you would in most, and that's got your username and password, and that controls what you have access to as a user and what you can see as a user. So individual users can have broad access. They can have very tightly defined access. Somebody on the shop floor could have a very, very narrow set of screens that they can see, things that they can do in the software. So through that username and password, we control that. And that can be set at an individual level, or it can be set for a role. So maybe shop floor people all get the same, or customer service people all get the same kinds of privileges, or you can set them up at the individual level. But this is what you see when you first log on. This is what we call the welcome desktop here. So you're seeing some things that come from xTuple. You can see our training classes that are coming up. The Twitter feed is there are updates from us and news that's coming out of xTuple. And then over on the right here, what you're seeing is a couple examples from our e-learning center. So some of the more popular videos, these rotate from time to time, but they tend to show up here, the more popular videos. But you can get to all of them down at the bottom left here, xTuple University. That's the name of the site. That will take you there. But from this page too, you can get to support, you can log issues, you can look up documentation and find what's new. So again, this page, this welcome page here, I'm on the bottom left section here, this welcome desktop as we call it, is just meant to be a resource that users can come back to from time to time. And then you do your main navigating here through the other menu options, the other desktops that are here. So the CRM desktop is where you can manage the interactions with your customers and prospects, but we've kind of taken it a step further and put all of the people that you interact with in one place. So it's like a centralized address book, which is a CRM account. CRM account can be customers, can be prospects, can be vendors maybe. So you can really have kind of anybody that you do business with all in one location. and manage all that, and manage opportunities, as I said, manage to-dos, follow-ups. I'm an individual, I want to see what's my to-do list today, or I'm a sales manager, I want to see what my to-do list is for the day, so I can get to any of that kind of information right from here. Sales is where you kind of start the sales process, where you're beginning with a quote or a sales order, taking it all the way through pick list, pack list, or maybe you're the kind of manufacturing environment where you manufacture or you take a sales order and that automatically creates a work order and a make-to-order environment, and those two things can be tied together. So my sales order can turn immediately into a work order, and then I've got immediate visibility to the demand that I've got on that from an inventory perspective, from a labor perspective. So all of that is very nice and visible. And then from an accounting perspective, the sales can either immediately create an invoice upon shipping, or you can have accounting review at the end of the day, make sure everything looks good, and then create and send out the invoices. A whole integrated purchasing, so MRP can make suggestions for work orders, MRP can make suggestions for purchase orders. It all flows through the whole purchasing process, where you can start and check inventory, do purchase requests, purchase orders. This might come in from MRP, so I've got the purchase orders, and then I can release them. I have a series of approvals for purchase orders, and then I can receive the inventory once it's in. You note the inventory icon here is a barcode. The system is completely barcode enabled, so if I want to use barcoding to receive inventory, I want to use barcode for shipping inventory, I want to use barcode for picking, all of that's there. The system understands barcodes out of the gate, can print barcodes off on your various forms, which we'll see as we go through. From a manufacturing perspective, once I've got a production order here, I can then execute against it, I can report against it, I can report scrap, issue material, report labor, all against any particular work order at any time. And again, we can really kind of hone in as well on, well, what is this individual, what's their responsibility? What can they do? What are they supposed to do? And really narrow down what anybody's looking at or able to see. The social desktop is really just a messaging app. So it's a couple things. I can see my my comments that I've made or that I've noted on some of my customers as I'm working through them. But I can also use it as a messaging platform inside of the ERP. So anybody that that I need to send a quick message to inside the ERP, I can. Maintenance is where you do all the initial setups, or I set up my items. If I'm multi-currency, I can do that. I set up my user privileges, my locations. You also, on the maintenance side, get all the tools that we use to build the application. So we provide a whole series of tools for, or we provide the tools that we used to build the application. So if you had technical people that you wanted to have had some capabilities for making changes to the application, or you know, adding something to a screen, or adding some functionality to the application, you do have the ability to do that. You've got all the tools to do that. Whether you've got the staff to do it or you want to hire somebody to do that, all of those are possibilities. All of those are things that you can do because you've got the tools. Now, doesn't mean to imply that most of our customers do that. In fact, lots of our customers are not overly technical. They get the software because it does the job they need it to do from a manufacturing and operations perspective. But it's nice to know that you do have those tools so that you can do things, and you're really more empowered to do things. Maybe there are some unique parts of your business, and you'd like to know that you can do some unique things with the software. You absolutely can. And it doesn't mean that you're foregoing your ability to continue to use the base software that doesn't do that. You know, you've got the ability to make some changes that are kind of outside of that. And you know, there's also the opportunity to add new features into the software. So if you had a really great idea for a new feature for the software, we do that quite frequently, where you've got the ability to, we've got the ability to work with customers. Let's work together to define, you know, a new feature that you want. We'll come to a, you know, an agreement on what it would cost. If it's something that's going to go in the base software, it's going to be a different cost than if it was just going to be a one-off thing that you all would do, or that we might do for a customer. So some really good options there too. There's a fixed asset system too, so that's all completely integrated. Let's what I thought I would do is kind of do a quick order flow through the system. We'll start with a quote, kind of the kinds of things that you can see and you can do with a quote, with inventory availability, those kinds of things, and then we'll take that order, we'll turn it into a sales order. It's a make-to-order item, and we'll kind of go through and even maybe run the little MRP. So hopefully we'll do that within the window here that we're looking at, so we're not taking up too much time for folks. So I've got about 20 more minutes, and that's really about the time that I would need to do that. So let's start by taking we'll start with a quote. So I'm going to come to the sales desktop here, and I'm going to click on quotes. And this is a good example of a list, right? That interactive list that I mentioned earlier, where it's kind of like a report, but it's not a static report. It's interactive. So I'm looking at this list here, and this is a list of all quotes. Well, maybe I want to find quotes by just a specific customer. So I'll look up quotes for this particular customer, and so I'll filter down this list a little bit more. And then I can also look for things by customer type. So maybe I want to look for customer type, or I can filter by, from customers calling, I want to find very specific. They say, well, here's my PO number, so I can look up by PO number. I can look up by date. I can look up by sales rep. So there's all kinds of ways that you can add filters here on the system. And then you've got the list that you really want, and then I can, from here, I can highlight any of these rows. I can right-click, and this is what I mentioned before. I can right-click from here. I can navigate my way to logical places that would make sense. Like from here, I could convert something to a sales order or an invoice right from here. I can copy this quote. So maybe the customer's calling and saying, hey, I want another updated quote. I want to add some things to it. Well, let's copy what you had, and we'll add some things to it. Or I can make edits, changes. I can also take everything that I'm looking at here and dump it very quickly into a spreadsheet. So I can right-click. I can say copy everything that I'm looking at. I can open up a spreadsheet, and I can dump it right into a spreadsheet. It brings everything over that I was looking at, including the column headers. So this goes for sales history. This goes for accounting, general ledger transactions. It's just very easy to be interactive with that. So let's go back to quotes, and we'll do a new quote here. And you can see where we start is on the customer number, right? So the cursor starts as soon as we open up a quote on the customer number. If I know the customer number, certainly I can type it in. But I've got this magnifying glass here, and anytime throughout the application in our solution, if you've got this magnifying glass, it means I've got help. I've got search aids here, so I can bring up a list of all customers or search on any part of the name, address, zip code, postal code, any part of the customer. I could even add a new customer on the fly. But with me, I'm just going to start typing, and you can see that once I do start typing, it will give me the 10 closest matches. And then once I get to the one that I know that I want, I can select it. Now, as soon as I've selected the customer, everything about the customer just comes with it. So I don't have to now enter the customer's preferred shipping method or find out what their credit status is or any of that. It just came with entering the customer, including their default ship to. You can have an unlimited number of ship tos, but I've got the default ship to for this particular customer. Then I can go ahead and add a new item. If this customer had, kind of a series of favorites that they bought frequently, I could bring up a list of their favorites, but we'll just enter a new item. And the item screen pops up here. This is kind of a full featured entry screen where I've got lots of information about each line item. So it gives me a screen to put all this information in. So again, it starts right on the item number. If I know it, I can start typing, but I've also got that same magnifying glass, right? So I can bring up a list, or I can bring up a search on any part of the name or partial number of the item. I can also bring up a search for alias. This would be maybe the customer likes to order with their part number. So I want to, they're giving me this part number that's not in mine, so let's look in the alias database. I could as well also start entering a new item here. So again, as I start to type, it will give me the closest matches. I'll grab the one I want. And as soon as I did, what happened was the system then gave me the ability to see what I've got in inventory for that item. So I've got down here immediately visibility to what is the quantity on hand for this item. Do I have the ability to buy or to deliver this item? Let me try another item. As soon as I enter well, that's why. As soon as I enter the item as well, I've got the ability to see, what do we have here for inventory availability for that item. So let me So that's in the quote. So if I was doing a quote, it would operate like that. If now a sales order, you can see, looks very similar to what the quote looks like, right? Really identical. The only thing is it's got a little bit more information about inventory, because once I create a sales order, I'm now allocating inventory. That's another thing that the system does. As soon as you create an order, it puts an allocation against the inventory. So I'm going to do what I did before, which is I'll look up the customer that I want, select the customer. I'll do favorites. I'll do a new line item for the item that I want, and I will not see what I was looking for. All right, let me get out of this real quick here. I'm going to bring up just another one of my databases that I work with very frequently. We'll do the same thing. I'm going to do a sales order. We'll do a new line item here. This is what I was looking to see my other database. I'm not sure what I had turned off there. But in this database, you can see as soon as I've got the item here, not only does it give you the inventory availability for what do I have on hand for the top level, but it also gives me the visibility to everything that goes into this item, right? So I'm a manufacturer. These are the components. Especially in a make-to-order environment, this is really super critical information. Do I have everything that I need to make it? Let's put a quantity in here. Put a quantity of 100, and we'll see that everything changes as a result of this, right? So we can see that, well, not everything, but some colors change down here. So we can see that this is a toy truck that I'm making, and to make a toy truck, it takes a body, and it takes paint, and it takes wheels, and there's a packaging subassembly. So not only am I seeing that I don't have the packaging subassembly, but if I open that up, I can see as many levels as I have in this multi-level bill of material. I can see everything that could be potentially missing here. So I can see that I don't have this subassembly, and I can also see that I don't have the box that goes into this subassembly. So as a result of this, what's going to happen is I'm going to have a negative allocation against this, because as soon as I save this item, it is going to create a work order. I've got it set up, this particular item set up, so it's a make-to-order item. So we're going to make it, and we're going to save this line here. And now I'm on the end order screen. And as a result of this screen, we can see what's going to happen here. We've got an order for this yellow truck for a quantity of 100. We have the order number for a work order, which is 50428. That's immediately tied to the sales order number. So you can see those two are linked. I mentioned that they were linked. They actually get the same number. So you've got that tie and you've got that visibility throughout the process. So let's go ahead and save this item. And I have this customer set up to get a email in addition to getting maybe we mail them a sales order acknowledgement, but this sales order acknowledgement is a good form or a good example of a form that you have in the application. So the forms are all built using our included report writer, and so you've got the ability obviously to put your own logo in here very easily, to tailor these forms if you've got something that your customers are kind of used to seeing. We've got an ability to make those kinds of changes very easily. It's part of what happens during implementation all the time. So now we've saved that sales order. If we go over to manufacturing and we go into the orders here, we can filter on. We can filter on the particular work orders that we have, and that's the order that we just took was this one, which was 50428. And if we open that up, I can right-click and drill into it, open it up. We can see a few things here. So this is what a work order looks like, right? So we've got the materials. So here's what it takes to make this item. And I also have some visibility on inventory availability here, right? So I can see, ooh, I'm short on something here. It looks like I'm short on that subassembly, so I know I can't make it just yet. I can also see, though, the operations. What are the steps involved with manufacturing this particular product? So first we do a paint operation, and then we do an assembly operation, and then we do a shipping operation. And I've got this particular item set up so that certain components are associated with specific operations, right? So I've got the paint and the body associated with the paint operation. I've got the wheels here associated with the assembly operation. And then I've got that sub-assembly that's missing associated with the final shipping operation here. And if I wanted to know more about any of these, if I wanted to know more about this operation, again, all throughout the application, if I want to know more, I can highlight a row, right-click, and I've got this context-specific menu here. So I open it up. I can see this operation, what happens here. It happens at the paint work center. That's what really defines the labor and the labor rate and overhead factors that you've got associated with it. I can define and predefine setup times and run times for specific quantities. I can have a whole series of instructions and, again, define what materials are associated with specific operations. So we know that we're going to need material for this, right? So what I'm going to do is run MRP. Up in the top left corner, it's a little bit different of a menu than we have in the bottom left corner. In the bottom left corner is this is the static menu that comes with the application. On the top left, what you've got is an ability as a user to define from a navigation perspective, here are the things that I do on a daily basis. I want to get very quickly to the things that I do and have them front and center. So I've got 6 or 10 things that I do all the time. I can just put those up here and get to the key things that I'm always navigating to. So I'm going to run MRP here. So I'm going to click, that's a shortcut that I've set up for myself. I mentioned earlier that MRP can be run by a single item, or it can be run for a group of items or all items. So I could run it here for a specific subset of items, but I'll say run it for all my subsets of items. I can run it for one location or multiple locations, multiple physical locations, multiple logical locations. The nice thing, again, about managing, using MRP to manage across multiple physical locations is the system can then make order suggestions, right? So it can say, you need to purchase some product and you need to make some product. It can also tell me I need to transfer some product, so it can make suggestions for all of those. And I'll look out here maybe 2 weeks. So I can pop the calendar and say, well, it's the 7th, I'm going to select the 21st. Or I can also, on any date field, I can say +14, and this system's just smart enough to know, well, that's 14 days ahead. So I'm going to say OK and run MRP interactively. You do have the ability to schedule MRP, so if I wanted to run MRP kind of on a nightly basis, I can do that. And then once I've run MRP, I can bring up this report here to see, well, what do we need? So MRP is telling us that we're going to need to make more of this product. We're going to need to make that subassembly, right? Now, if I wanted to, again, know the why, this is that navigation that I mentioned. So I've got what MRP is telling me, and then I can go from there. It's not a static report. I can right-click, and I can find out real-time, well, what's behind this? What's it telling me? So I can right-click and look at running availability, and I can see all the different orders. These are the different ins and outs. I can see, what do I have on hand for quantity? I've got quantity on hand of 21. I reorder more at this point. I order up to at this point, so I've got that information there. And then I can see the different ins and outs. So I can see what are the inventory pulls on this. Why is inventory, or why is MRP telling me that I need to do this? So I've already got some orders out there. I've got some demand, and so we can see that at the end of the day, we need to order 100 to cover all the different allocations out there, including, this is the work order that we just added, right, which was that 100. So that gives us the context. You have a couple of other things that you can do right from here. I can look at usage statistics. So I can look at the history of how much of this item was used before. I can make changes to it. So if I wanted to, this happens to be a manufactured item, right? It's a subassembly. But what if it was a subassembly that we could also purchase? Maybe there was a company down the street that made these for us when we got completely out of capacity. Well, you've got the ability, if you have it set up as a manufactured item and a purchased item, to right here in MRP, before I even release it, MRP tells us we need the demand. Let's tell MRP how we want to supply it. We want to create a work order. That's the default behavior. But maybe we want to purchase it this time, so I could change it. If I had had the item set up to do that, I can change it to do that. I can also change the quantity. I can change the suggested dates. I can add notes in here. I can do any of that. Well, let's just let it go. So we'll go ahead and release that. And now it's going to create a work order that's associated with this, right? So it's going to create a work order for what we need. We'll save that. Right, so a couple other things that I'll just go over real quick and then wrap up. I just kind of wanted to show the creating of the demand. I wanted to show how MRP can address that creating of the demand and what MRP will make for suggestions. Let me just take a look at or show you. Now we have that subassembly in there, right? But let's take a look at from this screen. And again, this is another one of those screens where it's a list, right? So I can add filters here. So I can search here in the list of all work orders. I can look for start dates and end dates. I can look for specific items or item groups. Maybe I'm the one who works with metals, or I'm the one who works with electronics. So I want to see all of the things that I need to do today and manage the things that I need to be concentrating on. So I've got all kinds of ways that I can filter that, including down to Work Center. Show me everything that goes through the Paint Work Center. I want to see everything there. I can also right-click. I'm going to print the Traveler. This is just a good way to show some of the things that the application can do from a form perspective. So here's the pick list, all the things that I need to get in order to build this truck. I need to get the paint, I need to get the body, I need to get the wheels, and I need to get the subassembly. And now here's the routing. Here's the work instructions. And again, this is a good form because it shows you a lot of the different things that we can do. So we've got the work order number here, right? And we've got that barcoded. Then I've got the item number, that yellow truck. And look, here's an image of the item. You can embed images into these forms. I've got the quantity. I've got that as a barcode as well. We have user-defined fields. Those can show up here. You really define what you want on your form. So here's individual operations. So here's the paint operation. That's barcoded. We can embed images that are specific to an operation. So this might be a little snapshot from a drawing, or it could be kind of like an IKEA set of instructions that you want to have here. I've got the raw materials here that are associated with this operation. You can see you've got that for each of those operations. So then you can start reporting against that, right? So I can start reporting against that particular work order. I can, report time against it. I've also got something that we call the shop floor time clock. So if I wanted to be somebody on the shop floor or represent here on this screen, the view that somebody on the shop floor might get when they log in, this is the only thing they see. They just see a very simplified time clock thing. So it's got a barcode scanner on it. They can scan their employee badge. Oops, so I gotta scan my employee badge. And then I'll scan the work order number. So that's the work order that's out there. And then I'll scan the operation that we're working on. So we'll start that paint operation and we'll check in. And now after I finish that paint operation, I can scan my employee badge. The system knows any outstanding jobs that I've got going on out there, so I can then select that one and just clock out. I can also report completions. So I can report how many. Maybe I didn't get to finish 100. It was the end of the day. I can only do 90, or I can only do 50. I can report that. The system knows what should have been my setup time and run time. I can override that. I'll go ahead and post that. And now the system is going to pull out the inventory that I had associated with an operation. Remember I said I could tie inventory to operations. So it's pulling out the paint. The paint is lot tracked. So here it is. It's telling me what lots are available. I'm telling it what lot I pulled it from, and I can post that. I've got the ability to post scrap here. So if any of the raw materials were scrapped at this stage, I can report that too. And now I've reported against that one. So that's really kind of what I wanted to show. I wanted to show some of the things from a manufacturing perspective, just a little bit of a highlight, high-level, peek at some of the things that you get in the xTuple ERP, some of the tools that you've got there. We won't go all the way through and ship the item. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm happy to show those things. So if you want to get into a more detailed demo where you're asking questions along the way, or you want to get into more, we're happy to do that. And my contact information is right here. So if you want to shoot me an email or give me a call or give anybody here anything that we can help out with, let us know. But I thank you for your time here today. I've got a little bit of time left. If anybody has any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. There's a question portal on your console, on your GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar console, so you can do it right there. Doesn't look like there are any, probably because I just about gone over all of our time here. But again, if you've got them, shoot me an email, give us a call, let us know how we can help, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, everybody.